Well, it's all about inflation. Every conceivable economic and social data point is being scrutinised through a singular lens. Is it net inflationary? And the month of May has certainly provided plenty of opportunity for analysis. Highlights include the federal budget, which was largely considered inflation neutral, and more recently, the release of the updated wages data. With the Reserve Bank surprising many in the market by increasing interest rates earlier in May, the question remains if higher wages will continue to drive inflation, leading to another interest rate increase by the Reserve Bank. While the recent release of wages data shows wages rising, is it net inflationary, and will it cause the Reserve Bank to, yet again, pull the interest rates trigger? Seasonally adjusted wages data rose 0.8% in the March 2023 quarter, comprising 3.7% annualised growth rate. The private sector was the main driver, with the most significant contributors being education and training, and professional, scientific and technical services. The Wage Price Index is the primary measure of inflationary pressure on wages and salaries, and is one of the key sources for the Reserve Bank when reviewing monetary policy. On the one hand, wages need to move in alignment with inflation to ensure that standard of living is not negatively impacted. On the other hand, wages and salaries are a major input costs across both goods and services, and this can very easily filter through to the headline inflation numbers if left unchecked. We are not in a wage price spiral. Inflation data and wage price data shows that inflation is still running well ahead of wage prices. And while the gap is starting to narrow, the divergence between the two is still very well beyond long-run observations. In this cycle, wages are playing catch-up and have not been the catalyst of inflation. Once you factor in the increased cost of living and elevated interest rates, real disposable incomes sit in negative territory, and it becomes difficult to mount the challenge that wages are the catalyst of inflation. While the inflationary peak may have passed, it remains uncomfortably high. The Reserve Bank is acutely aware of this and continues to stress its desire to see inflation return to target range sooner rather than later. In its May meeting minutes, the Reserve Bank noted that input cost pressures, both labour and non-labour, were continuing to contribute to price increases across a number of services. Consistent with their messaging 3 months earlier, the Reserve Bank reiterated that it forecasts inflation will return to target by mid-2025. This is good news. Importantly, the Reserve Bank also noted that while wages and growth had increased, it was still consistent with the inflation target being achieved. So where to from here? The Reserve Bank has certainly not called peak rates, and it acknowledges that it will do whatever is necessary to return inflation to target. So, while inflation has peaked and currently sits at 7% per annum, materially higher than its target range of 2 to 3% per annum, the pace of the return to target will be a central concern. Although wage growth is a contributor to inflation and plays a significant role in monetary policy, it's not the net inflationary smoking gun which would alone warrant upwards movement in the official cash rate. Thank you for listening. If you have any queries from this update, please call our friendly asset management team on 1800 818 818.